Hello everyone, welcome to Civil Engineering and Stuff. And in today's video lecture, we will be discussing about a building material called as lime. Now in this lecture, we will be discussing about the production as well as the different type of lime products that are available. And we will, along the way, we will be discussing about few of the technical terms. So let's start with the discussion over the topic lime. Now, talking about the production of lime, if we talk about the If we talk about the production of lime, lime is produced by burning limestone, which is CaCO3. Limestone is burned in the kiln. Limestone is burned in the kiln at a temperature of around 1650 degrees Celsius to its redness. It is burned to its redness. That is, this limestone it turns red upon the introduction of so much amount of heat in the kiln, and during this process, once it is burned at this temperature, limestone breaks into lime, that is CaO, and in this process, carbon dioxide is released. Carbon dioxide is released. So by burning the limestone at a high temperature of around 1650 degrees Celsius, we get the lime. Okay, now since lime is obtained by so much burning, this lime is also referred to as your burnt lime. It is also referred as the burnt lime, or also called as the quicklime. It is also called as the quicklime. So your lime, burnt lime, quicklime, all are the same terms. Okay. So this whole process in which limestone breaks down into lime is referred to as calcination. This whole process is referred to as calcination. Calcination is a process by which limestone is reduced to lime by burning it at a temperature of around 1650 degrees Celsius to its redness. Alright, so this is your lime. Lime is CaO, also called as burnt lime or quicklime. Alright, now this lime is the purest form that is available. Okay, now this lime, when this lime is added with water, lime or quicklime or the burnt lime is added with water, an exothermic reaction take place. Okay, an exothermic reaction take place, and through this, the lime that we obtained is what we call as the slaked lime. The lime that we get after we add water to the lime or the burnt lime or the quick lime is what we call as the slaked lime, and the formula is CaOH whole twice. The chemical formula is CaOH whole twice, and it's a very exothermic reaction. A lot of heat is evolved. Okay, this slaked lime is also referred to as hydrated lime because it is obtained by addition of water. This is also referred as hydrated lime. Okay, now this process in which your quick lime or the burnt lime is added with water to produce the slaked lime. This process is what we call as the slaking. This process is called as slaking. The name of the process, the name of the process is slaking. So basically what happens is when water is added to the quicklime, upon addition of water to the quicklime cracks, it swells and fall apart into powder form. It fall apart into powder form. This and the result is this slake line. So this whole process is called as slaking. Slaking is a process by which we get the slake line by addition of water to the lime, also called as quick lime or burnt lime. And in during this process, the lime swells, cracks, and falls into powder form. Okay, so this is called as slake lime, also called as hydrated lime. Now there is another term. There is another term called as hydraulic lime. There is another term called as hydraulic lime. Now, what is hydraulic lime? So you see here we have hydrated lime and there is another term called as hydraulic lime, and both are totally different terms. Okay, so hydraulic lime is basically any lime or any form of lime, any form of lime that sets under water, that sets under water. Any lime that sets under water is referred to as hydraulic lime. Now, see what happens is lime is basically derived from CaCO3 or the limestone. Now, the property of the limestone depends upon the area from which it has been extracted. So, this limestone may be subjected to lot of impurities. Okay, this limestone may be subjected to lot of impurities. Impurities in terms of addition of chemical compounds like silica, clay, or something else. It can be some other materials, but the dominant part is the CaCO3. So during this extraction process, the lime that we get during the extraction process may be rich in clay particle. Okay, so the lime may be rich in clay particle or in clay content, and because of the presence of the excess amount of clay content, it gets a property by which it sets under water. Okay, so those lime which sets under water is referred to as or are referred to as hydraulic lime, while hydrated lime, your hydrated lime is a totally different term. Hydrated lime is a term referred to the slake lime that is obtained by the process called as slaking, which is obtained, or the slaking process is when water is added to a quick lime or the pure lime, and through which the lime cracks, swells, and falls apart into the powder form. Okay, so this is the difference between hydraulic lime and the hydrated lime. Okay, so this is the general properties about lime. Now, based upon the quality of lime that we get, we have variety of lime that are there. So the purest form of lime is called as the fat lime. Here, this lime do not have any impurities, and because of which have high calcium content. That's why called as high calcium lime or pure lime or rich lime or also the white lime. Okay, that is the name for the fat lime, and fat lime is the purest form of lime. And since it is the purest form of lime, so the slaking process is very vigorous. So that is upon the addition of water, the slaking process, a lot of heat is evolved and hydrated lime is obtained. It slakes vigorously and the volume get increased to 2 to 2.5% of the volume of the quick lime. Being extremely pure, their impurities are very less than 5%. It has very slow hardening properties and has a high degree of plasticity. It is identified by its pure white color because it is a purest form of lime. Now, where this lime is used? This is used in whitewashing, plastering. It is used to form mortar by mixing it with sand. It is used for cement manufacturing and in metallurgical industries. Then the second kind of lime is what we call as the hydraulic lime. And we have discussed about hydraulic lime. Hydraulic lime is any lime that sets under water. And usually because of the higher amount of clay content, this property it gets. So it contains good amount of clay content and some amount of ferrous oxide. And depending upon the percentage of clay content, this hydraulic lime can be bifurcated into three broad categories. We have feebly hydraulic lime, moderately hydraulic lime, and eminently hydraulic lime. As the name suggests, in feebly, the percentage of clay content will be very less, and thus it may exhibit the setting property under the water, but it will be very less compared to the counterpart, that is moderately hydraulic lime and the eminently hydraulic lime. Now listen to this statement. Increase in clay percentage makes slaking difficulty and increase the hydraulic property. Just read this statement, and I want you to fully understand the statement. If the concept of slaking is clear, the concept of hydraulic property or the hydraulic lime is clear, then this statement will be very well clear to you. You know what slaking is. Slaking is when to a pure form of lime we add water, and through this it bifurcates or breaks down into the hydrated lime or the slaked lime. And this happens to a lime that is in its pure form, that is to a fat lime. This process, slaking process, is more prominent to a fat lime. However, a lime that may be containing a good amount of clay content and some amount of ferrous oxide, in that lime, in that CaO, the property of hydraulic property will inherit, that is, it will set under water. So let us discuss the difference between fat lime and hydraulic lime, and I hope now you can by yourself tell the difference between a fat lime and a hydraulic lime. Fat lime, if you talk about fat lime, it is the purest form of lime. It contains very less amount of impurities. In terms of clay, if we want to identify, the impurities will be less than 5% of the clay impurities. And because of the less amount of impurities or the clay impurities, it it do not have the ability to set under water. While the hydraulic lime has a good amount of impurities, it varies between 5 to 30% and some amount of ferrous oxide. And because of this, it sets under water. Talking about the slaking action, fat lime slakes vigorously, while this is not the case with the hydraulic lime. Talking about the setting action, it sets slowly in the presence of air. It absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere and forms CaCO3, while your hydraulic lime sets easily under water. Fat lime do not possess any hydraulicity, while hydraulic lime possess hydraulic property. Hydraulic property is a property by which a lime sets under water. Talking about the color, fat lime being the purest form, it will be white in color. Hydraulic lime containing some amount of impurities in the form of ferrous oxide and clay content, higher clay content, the appearance is not as white as that of fat lime. Your fat lime is not that strong, hence cannot be used where the strength is required, while hydraulic lime has a good amount of strength, and because of which it can be used in the places where strength is required. Talking about the use, fat lime is used for plastering, whitewashing, and for preparing mortar with sand or surki, while your hydraulic lime is used for preparing mortar for thick walls and for damp places. Okay, so these are the main difference between fat lime and hydraulic lime. Then the third variety of lime is what we call as the poor lime, and it is also called as impure lime or the lean lime, and it is identified by having a very muddy texture. The reason being it has higher amount of impurities, that is greater than 30% of clay. This poor lime has a very slow slaking. It forms very thin paste when added with water. It hardens very slowly and has a poor binding properties, and therefore it is not used that much in the plastering work. And can be used for a very nominal amount of work, just for temporary works it is required. Only for in those areas it can be used. Otherwise, it is not used for the major works. Okay. So this was all about lime. I hope through this video lecture, the production of lime, the terms like calcination, slaking, the difference between fat lime, hydraulic lime, and other types of basic concepts are clear to you. If so, like the video, share your views in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.